Hi everyone, and welcome to Southbridge Community Television. And it's hard to believe, folks, here in Southbridge that it's already November and we're on the cusp of the holiday season. And today in the studio I have with me here Denise Clemence, who is here to talk about a long-standing Southbridge holiday tradition. Hi Denise.
Hi Max.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now Denise, when I got to Southbridge some 30 years ago, I remember every holiday season in front of United Lens on Worcester Street. I guess I would call it a large cutout frame rendition of a train, all decorated up for Christmas with lights and bright colors right there on Route 169 at the entrance of town. Now, back in the day when my kids were young, I was working in Worcester, and I'd come home, I'd drive home at night, and I would come down Route 169, and there was that train, and it was just so warm, and it was so welcoming. I wasn't sure who put this Christmas ornament up, or who was responsible for it, but when I saw it on my commute home from the big city, it felt like I was home. Do you remember that train?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just call it a cutout frame of wood. Is that a fair description, or what would you call it?
I can tell you, I'm sure it was heavier than you can imagine.
Yeah.
2x4s and plywood seemed to be the tricks of the trade back then for making things come to life. But you know, Max, it wasn't just that train. If you recall going around town, you might have seen decorations at many of the manufacturers, large candlesticks or Christmas trees displayed all over the buildings. Those were made by the same person.
I remember that. Can you tell me a little bit of history of all those? Because there were several of them. There were some in front of the park. What was the history of them?
Well, in Southbridge, we had a wonderful person who owned a floral shop and design shop, and that was Rudy DiGregorio. And Rudy was famous actually throughout Massachusetts. He did, unbeknownst to many, all the displays at Christmas time for the Howard Johnsons throughout New England. He was, I think he once told me it was about 44 or so locations that he was responsible for.
Sort of like that train.
He did backdrops for the Boston Pops and many other organizations, stage scenes and such, just meticulous. And that was sort of a side job. Most of us remember Rudy and Rudy's floral designs from his flower shop on Worcester Street.
Right,
you
back
mentioned.
in the day, yeah.
Yep. So.
But he was also, I didn't know his fame spread outside of Southbridge, Denise.
Right.
I remember seeing them here. Denise, now, Mr. DiGregorio passed a few years back.
Yes.
But the decorations continue on. I mean, we've seen them in town every year since, and they adorn our town. They're kind of unique to our town. How is that possible, Denise?
Yeah. Well, it's possible by a few special elves.
Yeah.
I like to say I count myself among those elves. You know, you might remember 10, 15 years ago, we weren't seeing as many decorations. Things had changed. It was harder for companies to expense money on stuff like that. They were going more towards the non-traditional or the more light-up type ornaments and such, maybe just basic wreaths or light-up reindeer and things like that. But those large-scale displays were kind of put off to the side because they were just very expensive for a lot of companies. So about 9 years ago, I myself and Councilor Manna at the time, Monique Manna, we were looking at doing some work downtown to make it a little more festive for the holiday season. We had a lot of empty storefronts, don't have so many today, which is a good thing. And we approached a number of owners and asked, could we put things in your window to make it, spruce it up a bit? And they said yes, and we did. And as the holiday season approached, we wanted to put more holiday-themed items in, but we were kind of lacking the resources. And then at the time, my business person here, my friend and colleague, I want to say on council, Kathy Nicola, said, I think my dad might be able to help us. And honestly, I didn't realize that her dad was Rudy DiGregorio.
That was her pop, Rudy.
Exactly. And one evening, she brought me up to this warehouse, very strange, dark place on the second floor, and we walked into what I considered Santa's land, some holiday vision type place. And there was this little old Italian man working away, looking suspiciously at who this person was he didn't know. And there I saw elves and reindeer and angels and things, and it wasn't a dream. And I was just in awe of the work that he had. And we asked if we could borrow some items to use in some of the windows. And Minnie said he'd think about it. And the next day he said yes.
He changed his mind after a day.
Yep, overnight he changed his mind.
Oh, wonderful.
And so these items had been stored up in this area where he did other work at the time for many, many years, and were
There was
never
a
on
lull
display.
then between the day, I remember way back when my kids were little.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then there was a little lull, and then
Yeah.
9 years ago.
Because he had no means himself as a senior gentleman to be able to
Right.
do things. He still decorated the churches. Most
Yeah.
people would see his work at Notre Dame or St. Mary's, or he would decorate all the local churches for the holiday season. They would hire him to do these things.
No, I see.
But his cache, so to speak, of the seven dwarfs, the seven dwarfs, the reindeer, Rudolph, and all the reindeer, and all the elves, not the dwarfs, but the elves, very similar, were there just waiting. They were anxious to get out of that workshop and be on display so the kids could enjoy. And
They were languishing behind
they were,
a
and
wall.
yeah.
And so you got involved with your people about 9
Yeah.
years ago, and then we started to see them dispersed around town in front of the
Rudy
150 Main
started
Street.
to make more.
He did.
That was the most exciting part of all this. Is the first year we brought out what he had and we put them in the windows and we lit a Christmas tree, and it became, we started to do a little traditional tree lighting and such downtown. But the next year, when after we brought it back and there was a lull and spring came, I went and visited Mr. DiGregorio back at the warehouse, and he said, "Come see what I've been doing." And he opened a door and he said, "Look what I've got," and I was in awe again. He had created all the trees with the candy canes and skids and skids of
So he
beautiful.
continued to create.
Without us even, he just
Yeah.
started to make more items, because and I said, "Where are they going?" And he said, "Main Street." And
Right.
I just wasn't even sure what to make of all that, but we again, with luck and good works by other people, got a small group together and were able to distribute all the items that he had made again.
And festooned our Main Street with these beautiful Christmas decorations.
Yeah,
They make Southbridge special, really.
They make us special. Some will say they're kitschy, little
Yeah.
kitschy. And I don't disagree. Rudy loved color, he loved glitter, and you'll see lime green and hot pink and various colors. And we just would go every year, and Rudy would keep making, would ask him what he needed. Did he need wood? Did he need paint? What did he need? And we would facilitate that for him. And every year he would add to the collection. And the final year, 3 years ago, he made those cars, the race cars that we've seen.
He stayed involved right up till the end.
He did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was an onset of a quick illness that took him from us that fall.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to finish his work that year and be able to put the new pieces out along with the
Sure.
old pieces.
Sure. Now, Denise, I'm a long-time observer of these ornaments, okay? Every year I get to go by and I look and I see. But even to this day, Denise, they seem to be evolving. It seems like every year there's a little bit of something different. How is that possible?
Well, I have to say that when he first passed, I wasn't sure how we would keep up the tradition. We certainly are not woodworkers in and of itself. We've been able to have some people who have helped us with certain aspects, but what we've tried to do is recreate, redesign, refurb a lot of things. Certainly, they're made of wood, they're made of plywood, thin veneer boards, they're made of foam, they're made of different resource materials. And we have to keep them refreshed and painted and happy.
Yeah.
But we also try to change themes. We can't make new giant trees with candy canes, but we can change it up. So last year, for instance, Max, it was bicentennial year for Southbridge.
Right.
And you might have noticed, and the people would notice, that we did a lot of red, white, and blue. Stars and balls, and it was
Sure.
kind of a red, white, and blue bicentennial Christmas. And we put a big 200 in our wreath at the gazebo and lots of different things.
So you themed it up a little by
We
putting
themed
the
it up a little, and it
bicentennial,
was
sure.
pretty exciting. A lot of
Yeah.
our friends and helpers were creative, and we just kind of went with it, and it worked. But this year, again, we had to recreate. We
It's not
can't
the
be red, white, and blue
bicentennial anymore.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
right.
bicentennial, so what
Right,
are we going
right.
to do? I think people are going to be really surprised to see some of what we've created this year, repurposed large wreaths into something different. We've changed teddy bears from pink to brown. We now have
cool.
gingerbread bears.
A new look.
And we're really excited. We new ornaments. We've actually done a lot of wood cutting this year. Some great elves. My daughter Jillian redesigned a whole bunch of pieces, and we're very excited to put them out. But it takes many hands
Sure.
To get this done, and
folks-
we're grateful for anybody who
Sure,
who helps us
it's
out.
not one person. So there you go, folks. When you're wandering around town this year, you'll notice some changes, and you're not imagining it; they're actually happening. There's differences. Now, Denise, I was up at your warehouse last weekend, and I was watching your volunteers who were up there wielding the paint and hauling around the wood and so forth, and helping you with your effort. Denise, these ornaments are sizable, and I can imagine it takes some work to place these ornaments around town, and it would probably strong bodies and willing minds would be helpful. If someone wanted to engage in the Christmas spirit and is looking for something to do and is looking perhaps to help haul these things out and place them where they're going to go, how could they get involved? What's the way they can get involved?
Well, you can learn more about us by visiting the Southbridge Holiday Visions Facebook page. You can also send an email out to myself or one of our other, I'd say staff, but we really don't have staff. We're just all volunteers equal, at southbridgeholidayvisions@yahoo.com. And we have workshops, so we've been working in the evenings and on Saturdays and Sundays with the creative work, a little bit of painting. You don't even have to be an artist to do this. You just need to be willing to get a little dirty, perhaps. We will be at the workshop tomorrow evening again from 5 o'clock until about 8 o'clock, and we'll be there on Friday evening. And this weekend, though, is our big distribution start. I know it's early, but it takes a lot of time and energy to get these pieces out. They are heavy, as you said. We have to stake each one of them. They have to be supportive for a month and a half or so out there.
Windstorm or whatever.
Exactly, and the best way to make sure I don't get those phone calls that we have a tipped elf is to get it in right the first time.
Sure.
So we've learned over the years, we've evolved in how that they have to be erected and put into the ground and stabilized. And so we can use help. Trucks are always a big help. Pickup truck where we can put some ornaments in and say, head on down Main Street to the corner of Marcy or something, or head on to Elm Street and drop off something.
Is this a one-day effort? Is it going to be several days?
It's multiple weekends.
What are some of those dates?
So this weekend is Saturday is the 4th and Sunday the 5th. We will start at 9 a.m. from Mill Street. If you can't get out that early, but you want to help, you might find us out there. You will find us out there on the street. Anywhere after that, probably from 10 o'clock on, we would be down on Main Street somewhere dispersing. You could come along and help out. You can come to the warehouse, which is 76 Mill Street, and we are on the second floor there. You will see trucks loading up and offer to help. There still will be a need in the next coming weeks to finish the last of the items.
Sure.
This weekend it will be the big push. Next weekend we will again work on Saturday for a half a day, probably 9 to 1. And then the following weekend we will, whatever needs doing, Saturday and Sunday will be the catch up.
Finish up.
And we will be posting all these updates on our Southbridge Holiday Visions Facebook page.
So anybody who needs to go there can look at Southbridge Holiday Visions Facebook page and be reminded of these days. And so a person, I mean, they wouldn't have to volunteer for all of it. They had one weekend or one day.
1
They
hour.
come out that day and they can do a little labor and help Southbridge celebrate their Christmas cheer.
Right. And don't forget, what goes up must come down.
And then afterwards,
what
those
goes
same
out
volunteers,
must come in.
very
So-
important volunteers, can also help to break it all down and bring it back.
Yeah, in
Because
January, that's usually a weekend effort and we have to get it all back in.
Sure. Yeah,
So-
for next year. Sure.
To get it back in before the snow.
Yeah, I suppose January, all good things come to an end. Christmas doesn't last year round.
We settle in.
Well, Denise, thanks a lot. I mean, these things are uniquely Southbridge. Now, I talked to you the other day, and you said something about a friend in Sturbridge that
It's interesting. I remember a few years back reading the evening news, and they do their sound off section, and I loved it when we always get people to say nice things about what we do, and it's wonderful. It's very heartfelt. But it was great to read in the newspaper where someone said, "Oh, Southbridge has done such a great job with their decorations. Why can't Sturbridge do that?" Well, I can tell you, Sturbridge, you need to really step up your game if you want to compete, because it is a lot of work, and we are very, very fortunate. I'm grateful that you have the support of the few that just come year after year to make this happen. We couldn't do it without them. And we could certainly not do our tree lighting, which we can bring up next if that's
yeah,
okay
sure.
with you.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate
So-
that's the other point I wanted to make here,
Yeah.
folks. We have the Southbridge Holiday Visions and the decorations, and I was surprised at how many were in that warehouse. Denise, I've seen them around town, but last weekend when I saw them in a fixed place, it was just surprising to me how much there is. There's a lot to bring out there.
And I know you'll be showing that to the people because you did our little
Yeah,
tour of our warehouse. and I'm looking
they'll
to-
see.
Yeah,
They'll get an idea. So we've talked about the Rudy DiGregorio inspired holiday, and I call them pop-ups.
Whatever you want to call them.
Those wooden cutouts, holiday spirit. Now, Denise, since you're here, we also have the other big event coming to town for all the Christmas revelers, and that is the annual Christmas parade that you're also involved in. So why don't we talk about that, and you can tell me what that is and what it's going to entail.
Well, that first year when we were just wanting to sort of provide some holiday spirit for everyone, we decided to bring Santa into town, and we had a tree donated by Morse Lumber, and we had our former police chief, Dan Charette, come and help set that up. And all of a sudden we said, we're just going to do a tree lighting. And we advertised it that Santa would come to the tree and would light the tree. And that evening, and we knew the fire department would offer up a few fire trucks, and the police cruisers would make sure that everyone was safe. And that year, when we were just doing a tree lighting, it wasn't a parade, it was just come meet Santa at the tree. And lo and behold, people were coming down Main Street with the fire engines and Santa, and we weren't sure what had happened. And apparently somebody called the fire station and said, where's your parade? When does it start? How can we participate? And they said, the parade starts at the old Wells School, come on down. And suddenly it was a parade.
Spontaneous parade right here in Southbridge.
Spontaneous, and we had the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and some of the schools participated. And so ever since then it's evolved, and it continues to be, I like to call it a procession, but I can't help it if people call it a parade. We have floats. Santa comes down on a float. We have had Big Bunny Market did a float last year. D&D Welding did a float. Everyone meets up at the school who wants to. Some of us just hang by the tree and we sing Christmas carols and we wait. And at 4 o'clock on Saturday, November 25th, it will start this year. It is Saturday, not Sunday. We've traditionally been a Sunday. A lot of people have been asking to change. And this year, by vote of the majority of those working and involved, we said, let's do it on Saturday. We're starting at 4, not 5. And again, the procession will come down Main Street. If you would like to put together a float, if you'd like to participate. These days, LED lights are so easy to light. By any car, you can plug in just about anything.
Oh, sure, make your
You can
own
bring
float.
a car, you can bring a tractor, you can bring a trailer, whatever you want. Come on down, let us know so that we can make sure we have you in the lineup when we start. Come on down Main Street, Santa stops. The tree this year has outgrown its space at the bank, and we are going to actually put it on the vacant lot that is right in the middle of Main Street, and with a nice display, and that's where we will light the Christmas tree. And then we will head to the Common for the annual Santa, come meet Santa, have a cookie and some cocoa donated by the conference center, get your picture taken.
Well, that's exciting.
Listen to some carols, wonderful Victorian carolers sing every single year. They come from Connecticut to sing for us.
They not only can march with the fire department and Santa, then later
And
on.
the DPW lately has been coming in the last few years.
And our fine DPW and their big trucks.
Big trucks.
They love them big trucks. Okay, I know a lot of little boys and some little girls that
love
like
the
the big truck. So they get to come down. When you say the school, you're talking about Mary Wells?
Yep, on the corner of Marcy and Main Street
there. So
right,
4 o'clock there on Saturday the 25th.
Yeah. Show up a little earlier, you can line up because we want to leave
you
about
want
4.
a little early and get acclimatized. You come down with the big man. You walk all the way down to the Common, you get a cookie, you can talk to the guy about what you want and enjoy the festive spirit, and of course the parents will probably like it too.
Yeah, and we're there till about 8 o'clock, and then that's it scheduled till 8. There'll be seasonal music the whole time. There will also be llamas this year.
Llamas.
Yes, llamas. The Cultural Center contacted us, and they wanted to do something more for our event, and now we have the Zepp llamas. These are llamas from Southbridge. The Zepp family owns them, and they are going to have llamas on the Common for the children, and they're going to educate the children on llama care and what llamas mean and can do. And
Christmas llamas.
Christmas llamas. We will also, a new component, we'll have a few food vendors, so you will have the opportunity to purchase, if you would like, some fried dough, some kettle corn, a cup of coffee instead of just the cocoa for
More
the adults,
festive.
and a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if you're hungry because you started earlier, there will be food for you there, and just a really good community spirit.
Oh, terrific.
And the spirit of Rudy, with, of course, the donated lights in the trees, and it's just, it really makes you realize that the spirit of giving and receiving is well intact here in Southbridge. You know,
A sharing community. I love the idea of the tree going in that empty where the building used to be.
Yeah, where the building used to be.
Merry Christmas, Southbridge, right in the middle of town.
And the tree this year is being donated by Pat Trahan. She is our wonderful senior center worker. She puts on
I
the
know
luncheons
Pat.
there. Yes,
She's always
wonderful
helping up
lady.
there at the senior
Her
center.
brother Frank Kraszewski died, and he was the owner of Kraszewski tree farm in Connecticut.
Oh, I had no idea.
And Pat and I went and picked out a tree recently, which Marshall Morse will help us to retrieve and to bring to town. And
He always seems to be involved too.
Every year, Marshall has either donated the tree or at least helped retrieve and set the tree. We've had a couple of donors in the past few years have a tree on their property and say, "Can we use our tree for Christmas?" And we certainly.
Sure.
And Marshall always gets the tree for us, no matter where it is, and he has agreed to do it again this year. But the donation this year is in memory of Pat's brother.
Pat's brother,
and we're very excited about that too, and very grateful for her donation.
Oh,
of
that's
the trees.
terrific. That's all terrific stuff, Denise.
Yeah.
And I like Christmas. This is a great way to kick it off, like you just said. Now, the 25th, is that the Saturday after
It is
Thanksgiving?
the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Okay, so good. Then we put that behind us. We move right into the next one.
And please check with cable, because they will be advertising this for us. We will make sure that you get
Sure.
our updated flyer, and so you can go to your cable channels and you can find this information out, thanks to you and the crew.
Oh, no problem.
And
Denise, thanks so much. I mean, thanks for all of this. I know that it's a lot of work. I was down there at the warehouse. I know that it has entailed several days and lots of volunteers and the good, well-meaning people of our town here that do this, for nothing other than, to help out. And I know you're a volunteer in a lot of ways, and so I'm thanking you for that too. And I'm thanking all of the volunteers here in Southbridge who help the town in various ways. And again, like Denise said, if this is something you think you could help the Southbridge Holiday Visions group to carry these things around and place them in their proper spot. And Denise told you the dates. So thank you, Denise.
thank you for
Yeah.
having me. And again, Southbridge Holiday Visions on Facebook. Get the latest information.
So
or
for
give me
more
a call.
info, you go right there and you get the latest.
Exactly, and you get pictures of the workers.
Oh.
So you said evenings. It's been months of work, and
Yeah.
and now we'll culminate with a great distribution and then a wonderful tree lighting ceremony.
Yeah, and we
so.
roll right into
And
Christmas.
then it's December.
Oh, then it's just that magical time of year.
It is, and we can all enjoy it for a while after that. We
Yeah,
can just
yeah. Then
take a
January we
breather
can put it all the way until next year.
and-
Denise,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. Thank
Denise,
you.
thanks for coming on. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me
Yeah,
again.
and to all those out there in Southbridge and Honest Town, thanks for watching, and hope to see you down there at the holiday parade downtown on the 25th. And if you can help lay some of those beautiful, festive, and truly Southbridgean wreaths or ornaments around town, they could sure use your help. Anyway, thanks for watching Southbridge Community Television, and we'll see you next time right here in Southbridge. Thank you.